If I'm off beat, just clap on beat. Don't worry about me. A few years later, the interviewer, the commentator, he looked at a group of us and the NBA All-Stars. I was in the room. I don't know why I was in the room. I was like a little kid just staring at Kobe Bryant. He probably thought I was a little weird. I said, "What's up, Kobe?" He looked at the tattoo on my head and just kind of laughed, walked past me, gave me a little high five. I was like, I put my hand on LeBron's shoulder, slapped him on the shoulder. Don't do that. He's got bodyguards. Seriously. They turned around like, whew. I was like, he smiled. He's big enough to take care of himself. He didn't really care. I said, "What's up, man? You going to hang out with us tonight?" He said, "He didn't really say anything. He just laughed." No one in the room really talked to me. They all just thought it was funny because I didn't really fit in. They were wondering who I was. I wasn't an NBA player. I was just a street ball player from New York City. I still didn't have a contract at the time. That night we performed on the Houston Rockets floor, and I was interviewed on TNT with the owner of the Harlem Globetrotters, and during the day we visited all the victims from Hurricane Katrina, and the commentator looked at me, and as he was putting us in groups of three, he looked at me, and then he looked at the owner of the Harlem Globetrotters. At the time it was Manny Jackson. He was the first African-American to own a major sports franchise. He's no longer the owner of the Globetrotters. I think he sold it, but he's moved on to bigger and better things. He always treated me really special, so I thought it was cool that the commentator, just out of nowhere, picked me and then him, said, "We're going to put you in groups of three," and he also grabbed Kobe Bryant out of nowhere. So we walked through the shelters, and we signed autographs for the kids. I didn't really sign many. No one thought I was there to sign autographs. I was just kind of thinking like, wow, this is so cool. I tried to take like a selfie of me and Kobe, but it didn't work out. I didn't want to get yelled at by the guys, you know. You're not really supposed to be taking pictures of the celebrities. And then we performed, like I said, on the garden floor. Then a little later on, they called my name. A few years later, they called my name, and with the Harlem Globetrotters jersey, I ran out onto Madison Square Garden court. My family was in the crowd. All my high school friends were in the nosebleed section. And they announced my name, and I looked under my feet, and I saw the New York Knicks symbol. I had been there years ago. As a young kid, my dad was a pastor of a church of about 30 people when we maxed out the place. I used to carry the sound equipment and help set up, and so someone from the church wanted to do something nice for us, so we didn't know it, but he was actually personal friends with the athletic trainer for the New York Knicks. When I was in 5th grade, I had the chance to actually go to a New York Knicks practice. Mark Jackson, John Starks, Xavier McDaniels, Charles Oakley, Patrick Ewing, right? Some of you are like, I don't care. I don't like basketball. For me, it was a big deal when I saw Gerald Wilkins walk by. He was the only guy that was athletic enough to guard Michael Jordan on the Knicks, and my brother had a poster of him in his room. And there I was watching him and gave him a high five, just like I did Malcolm Lee, just like I did Kobe. And there I was, all these cool things happening in my life. In the 5th grade, giving Gerald Wilkins a high five, not knowing that I would come back to that same court where he was playing basketball when I was 25. Those are all the highlights of my story. But they're not the moments that are special to me. When I was interviewed on ESPN, when I was on BET, me and Justin Bieber, baby. When I was on the front page of my hometown newspaper, Newsday, in Long Island. Those aren't things I remember. To be honest, if you go into my house, you won't be impressed. I don't have a very big house. I'm trying to live like a missionary. You won't see my jersey hanging anywhere. I never finished my contract. You won't see any pictures of those things that I accomplished because I believe that there are greater things waiting for me. When you walk into my house, I have them in a box. I'll show my daughter when she's old enough to understand that, your dad could play a little basketball. See, the greatest moment in my life was the day I woke up on the floor. I'm going to try to be quick because I want you to see a video when I'm done. The greatest day of my life was the day I woke up on the floor. Like I told you, I was sleeping on the floor. I was in Queens, New York. I was eating out of a food bank, and I didn't have enough money for a cell phone. This whole week, I'll be in public schools, speaking to students, sharing my story, talking to them about dating violence and healthy relationships. The greatest relationship starts with God. And for me, I was at a time in my life, it's worth clapping for. I was at a time in my life where everything fell apart. I felt like I was worth nothing. I was playing street ball. I won some awards in high school, but there's so many people who play basketball in New York City. I was just a dreamer. That's what I thought. I thought I was just a dreamer. But there's a difference between people who are dreamers and people who live out dreams. And the difference is hard work and preparation. A pastor in Australia last year on one of our speaking tours told me, when someone from Australia who's a pastor tells you something, you think it's deep just because they sound cool. He's like, listen, mate. I'm like, yeah. He says, God has a plan for your life. I'm like, I believe. Just because he's Australian. He told me this. He said, God has never wasted a prepared man. People are successful. How many of you have ever heard of Reggie Dabbs before? Have you ever met Reggie? Oh, I hope you get the chance to meet him when he comes here. He's the #1 school speaker in the world. He's on the tour with Tony Dungy. He speaks to all the professional football teams. He did this year. He was in all the stadiums. I'm so jealous of his Facebook. He has over 100,000 friends. That's ridiculous. He writes a post and he gets about 50,000 comments. I get 5, What's more impressive about Reggie is not his speaking, even though he's in stadiums all over the world. He's been at events with Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods. Michael Jordan asked him after his event, what can I do for you? And he said, nothing, just tell people we're friends when they ask. 2 weeks later, a gift of a signed jersey shows up on Reggie's doorstep, a signed jersey from Michael Jordan. Pretty cool, huh? It's not Reggie's greatest moment either. See, Reggie talks about a day when he was born for $20. He talks about a life where he never knew his father. He talks about a life growing up where he never knew his mom. His mom gave him away to her favorite high school history teacher at the age of 15. They were living in a chicken coop. There were already 2 kids, and she slept with a man for $20 to try to feed her kids, and Reggie was born. Sometimes Reggie will take a $20 bill, roll it up, step on it, and then pick it up and say, anybody still want this $20? And kids in high school are like getting ready to run out of the bleachers, And Reggie will say, well, why do you want it? I just stepped on it, and it's all beat up. And he says, because there's a value in this $20 that no matter what you do to it, it's always worth something great. It's still worth the same amount. And then he'll remind the kids, I was born, and this is what the world says I'm worth. But I'll tell you what, I'm worth more than $20. His favorite saying is, I can't change my past, but I can decide my future. Today I didn't bring a $20 bill, but I brought a basketball. Would anyone like a basketball? You, right over here in the gray, come on up. Yeah, give him a big round of applause. You should have seen his face. He was like, really? The greatest moment in my life was when I decided to wake up again, because you do make decisions and choices every day. And you make God proud when you choose to go another day. Sometimes I look at kids in high schools, middle schools, elementary schools, and it's so cheesy and I love it. I look right at them, I say, I'm so proud of you. And they say, why? Because you're in school. And I know what they're thinking in their head. I got to be here or my mom will kill me. No, you really don't. See, you made a choice to love your mom. You made a choice to listen to her. You made a choice to open up your heart and allow the things that are important to her to dictate your life. And even though you feel like you have to be here, even though you feel like you're in this pressured spot between a rock and a hard place, you made the choice when you woke up this morning and you decided to keep going in the right direction. And I'm proud of you. Words have life in them. And I know it sounds so funny, but I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for being here this morning. You say, well, who you are? I don't care what you think. It's okay. I'm still proud of you. I think it's so great that you love God so much you'd come into his house no matter what anybody thinks. There's times I don't want to go, but I still go. You know why? Because when the doctor walked out of the room and the nurse left and the lights went out, I knew I wasn't alone. That was before I played with the Globetrotters. I lost the ability to walk before my dreams to play professional basketball came true. See, sometimes in life your dream dies and you think everything's over. But God's plan for your character is just beginning. And it's more important that we become more like God than that we impress ourselves or people. And for me, I just wanted to know I was important. That's what I learned with the Globetrotters, is that everybody's the same. Everyone wants to be loved, and everyone wants to know that their life has a meaning. Amen. There were times I'd be talking with players, and it was so cool. I'd share with them about my heart with God, and I'd look over later, and I'd see them on their knees praying in the back of the bus. You never know what's inside a person unless you believe in them. For me, I felt like no one believed in me, and here's the hard part. I didn't even believe in myself. I told you I woke up one morning and I could no longer fake the pain. I had torn my labrum, which is the cartilage that surrounds your joint and keeps it in socket, keeps your limb in socket. I had torn my labrum with my own bone structure. I ended up going through 10 different doctors. The 12th doctor figured it out. I ended up in the Hospital of Special Surgeries in New York City. And during that time when I couldn't play basketball with my legs, I worked on basketball tricks with my hands. When I got back up on my feet, I had all these new basketball tricks that I didn't even know before. I'd like to thank Pastor for teaching me all those. Would you give him a big round of applause? Hey, sometimes in life, you go through something and you think it's tearing you apart. But the truth is, it's putting you together. Wow. We all go through times in life where we feel like this. So if I were to walk down the school hallway, would you know the basketball's losing air? Would you know that if I were to bounce it and push it down, it wouldn't bounce back? Because there's things going on at home. There are things going on in their heart and their mind. And you don't realize they're losing all their strength, all their value. See, eventually you can't even hear it anymore. And there's no more cry. See, people die on the inside before they die on the outside. But if I were to come out here and do a whole bunch of basketball tricks, you wouldn't even know. But I know. Do you know I can tell the difference? I've practiced so much for so long that I can even tell the difference right now in the weight of the ball. I was so angry I used to practice till my arms would burn. That's how much God knows us. That you may look fine to everyone else, but he knows. And here's the cool thing. It's okay. Because there's a season for everything.